Hello, I'm Darren again. The topic for today's video comes from questions asking what is meant by the term narcissistic compassion. Another question is, how does narcissistic compassion differ from altruistic narcissism? But I would like to begin by saying a narcissist is not necessarily someone who can be selfish or difficult at times. I think if we were all honest, we can all be a little bit like that once in a while. The characteristics of narcissism include a sense of superiority and a huge sense of entitlement. There's a lack of empathy for other people, and they can be very disagreeable. They're self-absorbed and have a constant need for validation and admiration from others. They can also be highly resistant to criticism, and these characteristics would be long-term, consistent, and pervasive, not just once in a while. So to begin by answering the second question, as is common with narcissism in general, both narcissistic compassion and altruistic narcissism involve a self-serving aspect to their behavior. The key differences lie in the focus and the motivation behind their actions. Now, an altruistic narcissist can be harder to identify compared to other narcissistic behaviors because their actions can appear selfless on the surface. However, the motivation behind their generosity often revolves around their desire for recognition, praise, and validation. They want to be seen as the kindest, most generous person there is. They seek a sense of recognition and draw attention to their generosity, their charitable acts, often using them as a way to boost their own self-esteem or social standing. Narcissistic compassion, however, is more of a tactic. It's a tool used by people with strong narcissistic traits to fulfill their own needs rather than being a genuine expression of empathy or care for others. Again, it's primarily driven by self-interest, to maintain their self-image, to gain personal benefits, to manipulate and control others. The display of compassion is, more often than not, it's quite fake. It just gets them what they want. It can also be used to justify their abuse towards others, and I'm going to talk more about that later in the video. So some common examples of narcissistic compassion would first of all be public displays of affection. Now, they might make grand gestures in public to show their supposed love and devotion to their partners, their families, their kids. But these displays are often aimed at gaining admiration and validation from others rather than expressing genuine emotions. The audience don't get to see how they really behave behind closed doors. And like altruistic narcissists, they can be quite generous and kind. However, these acts often come with ulterior motives. An extravagant gift, for example, might be more about gaining control, portraying a certain image, or expecting some kind of reciprocation that benefits them somehow. Another way narcissists use compassion is as a way of making others feel guilty or indebted to them. They may offer help or support to someone, but later use it as leverage. They make demands or guilt trip the person into complying with their wishes. When people with strong narcissistic traits offer help and support, it is often conditional. Now, even if those conditions are unspoken, the person they help must be beholden to them somehow, sometimes forever, or at least until the narcissist decides to discard them. They're of no further use. The compassion can also be a way of manipulating others. Narcissists often exploit other people's vulnerabilities by feigning concern or empathy to manipulate their emotions or to gain information. Many times they can use other people's struggles or insecurities against them while still playing the role of a caring confidant. In the early stages of a relationship, many narcissistic people often come across as caring and compassionate. This is part of what's known as love bombing. This is where narcissists shower their targets with excessive attention, affection, and kindness. By displaying an overwhelming amount of compassion, they create a strong emotional bond and dependency. However, once the partner is emotionally invested, once they have learned their partner's fears, weaknesses, and vulnerabilities, many narcissists shift their behavior, become more controlling, manipulative, or emotionally abusive. They can use their compassion, even compassionate moments, as a tool to manipulate their victims' emotions and behaviors. They can oscillate between periods of cruelty and kindness, withholding compassion for extended periods of time, and then suddenly offering it as a reward for compliance or to keep the victim hooked. This is where we see trauma bonding forming. Next, in situations where conflicts arise, narcissists may feign compassion by pretending to empathize with their partner's pain, but not necessarily understanding their perspective. An example of this could be recognizing their partner is in distress. They even suggest maybe they seek some kind of help. maybe suggest they go and see a therapist. They may even offer to pay for the therapy. But there is no acceptance of why the partner is in distress. Some cases they may even say to the partner, "You'd better not be discussing me in your therapy. This is about you." But by pretending to be compassionate, they use their apparent concern to invalidate their victims' feelings and experiences, make them doubt their own reality. This manipulation can lead to confusion, self-doubt, and a sense of powerlessness in their victims. They can also feign compassion and empathy with others publicly, but again, it's only for manipulation. Who would believe such awful stories about someone who is so kind and compassionate? Next, narcissists can also use compassion as a means of creating conflict or tension between other people. They may act as intermediaries, offering support or understanding to one person while simultaneously sharing selective information or stirring up drama with the other. This is a form of triangulation and allows them to maintain control and power dynamics within their different relationships. It's commonly referred to as divide and conquer. So there are just some common examples of narcissistic compassion. Now, when it comes to them using compassion as a tool to dominate and punish, I think that's where we go more into the realms of the dark personality types. Now, with dark personality, aside from the narcissism, there are also elements of psychopathy, and this is being callous and having a disregard for others. There's Machiavellianism, which is being manipulative and duplicitous. There's also sadism, which is inflicting pain and misery on others either for their own gratification or to maintain control. There can also be what's known as dark empathy. They use their understanding of other people's emotions and vulnerabilities to control and punish them. They're able to feign compassion, gain sympathy, and play on other people's empathy to manipulate their emotions and their actions. Some of the ways in which they can use their fake compassion is, first of all, to recruit others. They recruit others to do their bullying or their stalking for them, particularly if maybe there is no contact with their victim. Those who carry their work out for them are often referred to as flying monkeys. So their flying monkeys may hear things like they're really worried about that person. They'd heard they'd started drinking or they'd been mixing with the wrong sort of people, but sadly there's nothing they can do. So they're displaying some kind of compassion, but there's no honesty as to why there's no contact. So their agents report back to them information just to ease their worried minds. And this not only feeds them intelligence on their victims, but it also feeds that image of being a genuinely caring person. Next, there's playing the victim. Narcissists often present themselves as victims of circumstances or past trauma. They use stories to garner sympathy. By portraying themselves as wounded or damaged, they try to rationalize or excuse their abusive actions, making it appear as if they are acting out of pain or self-defense. It's just a way to shift responsibility away from themselves and place the blame on external sources. What they're doing is they are twisting and exploiting the compassion and empathy of others. In abusive dynamics, abusive relationships, narcissists can use their display of compassion as a means to gaslight their victims. They may claim that their controlling behavior is motivated by their concern for their victim's best interest. Their victims might hear things like, "It's for your own good," or "It's for the greater good," or "I'm only trying to help." And this distorts reality and invalidates the victim's experiences. Another way they can exploit the empathy of others is by presenting themselves as if they are deeply affected by their own abusive behavior. They might claim to feel remorse, guilt, shame. They're seeking understanding and forgiveness. However, their display of remorse and regret is often a calculated tactic aimed at eliciting sympathy and manipulating the victim into either accepting or excusing the abuse. They might say things like, "I didn't mean to cheat. One of my parents cheated when I was really young. I swore I would never be like that. I feel so ashamed of how I've hurt you. The world might as well just end right now." And this is aimed at making their victims feel guilty for pointing out their bad behavior and also feel guilty for feeling hurt. Lastly, and this could take place in families, romantic relationships, workplaces, even on social media, but here we would see the callous, vindictive, and sadistic side of dark personalities. And that's when they use their concern, their compassion for something or someone, perhaps some kind of a cause, whatever it is, they use it as a justification for their abuse towards someone else. They might claim they're just trying to make the world a better place somehow, but they can be cruel and malevolent all in the name of a good cause or some twisted sense of morality. And here we would see what's known as a moral immunity. Any bullying, act of hatred, or vitriol on their part is justified. In their opinion, their target is wicked and evil and beyond any kind of redemption. Now, some might behave as if it is their moral duty to seek out and punish others they believed to be guilty of perhaps some kind of moral flaw. This would be known as enforcing sadism, and this is a subtype of sadistic personality. Or they might use sadism and cruelty to threaten and to keep others in check, to prevent them from speaking up or speaking out against their perceived sense of righteousness. And this would be known as tyrannical sadism, again another subtype of sadistic personality. So to summarize, while people with very deeply ingrained narcissistic traits may display empathy or concern, just like altruistic narcissists, they can even perform acts of kindness and generosity. But the acts are self-serving. They are typically shallow and short-lived. They struggle to genuinely understand or connect with others' emotions and experiences. The distorted displays of compassion are often manipulative tactics rather than genuine expressions of feeling. They are designed to rationalize, minimize, or justify their abusive behavior. So that's a brief outline of narcissistic compassion. Now, as always, if there's anything I've missed, please feel free to use the comment box below. There are some interesting conversations start from these videos. But if you find this video interesting, please consider subscribing to my channel. And until next time, thanks for watching. As Hannibal Lecter once said, when the fox hears the rabbit scream, he comes a-running, but not to help.